This week we're going to talk about the nervous system. Talk about the characteristics, the job of the nervous system, the parts of a neuron, the central nervous system, the brain, cerebrum, cerebellum, medulla, the spinal cord, the peripheral nervous system, parts of the peripheral nervous system, and the five senses. We're starting here at slide 79. Let's talk about the characteristics of the nervous system. It's made of two parts, the central nervous system, the CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, PNS. It's made up of the brain and the spinal cord, and all those are connected by neurons. This makes up your five senses. The job of the nervous system allows you to react to a stimulus, a change in the environment. We talked about that way long ago, back in September, October. Example, hot stove, tripping on a rock. Your reaction is automatic. Example, if a bug flies in your eye, you blink. You don't have to think about it. Parts of a neuron. There's dendrites. These are little parts here that branch out as like little branches. Then you have the axon, this part right here, this yellow part. And then you have the cell body. And cell bodies would be this purple part here. It's made up of two organs, the brain and the spinal cord. It controls everything you do. The human brain, it controls everything in the body, made up of more than 10 billion nerves or neurons. Three parts, the cerebrum, cerebellum, and the brainstem or the medulla. It's protected by the skull. The cerebrum. The cerebrum composed of two equal hemispheres. There's four lobes. You have the frontal lobe. You have the controls reasoning, speech, movement, and emotions. The parietal lobe handles touch, pressure, temperature, and pain. Temporal lobe, hearing and memory. And occipital lobe, which controls your vision. Cerebellum, located at the back of the head. It controls muscle coordination and balance. The brainstem, or medulla, connects the cerebrum with the spinal cord. The three main sections of the brainstem. There's the midbrain, which controls reflexes and changes of the pupil's eyes. The medulla oblongata controls the heart rate, breathing rate, and flow of blood through the blood vessels. And you have the pons. It relays signals between the cerebrum and the cerebellum. The spinal cord. It's protected by the vertebrae, sends messages to the brain, connects the brain to the rest of the nervous system. The PNS, peripheral nervous system. Made up of nerves that connect the central nervous system to the rest of the body. Function controls the body's activities that you don't think about. Breathing, heartbeat, small intestine, and these five senses. Ganglion. These are the parts of the peripheral nervous system. A mass of nerve cells outside the central nervous system. The receptors, nerve cells that receive information from internal and external stimuli. Conductors, nerve cells that transmit information from receptors to the central nervous system. Effectors, receive information from the central nervous system and transmit through the body. These cells will activate your muscles. Here you have the five senses, and we can click on each one of these to read a little bit more about each sense, which can bring you farther down onto the presentation. We'll first talk about seeing. The main organ is the eye. It's made up of the iris, the pupil. The eye gathers pictures and sends them to the brain and through the optic nerve. There's other parts here of the eye, as you can see on the picture. Hearing. Main organ is the ear, made up of 9 parts, 3 of the smallest bones in the body. The ear takes in sound waves and transmits them to the brain through the auditory nerve. deep within the ear. Touching. Main organ is the skin. The skin allows us to feel things, temperature, pressure, pain, and transmit that information back to the brain through the nerves in the skin. Smelling. The main organ is the nose. It's made up of the nose and olfactory cells. Transmit smells to the brain through the olfactory bulb. Tasting. The main organ is your tongue. It's made up of taste buds, sweet, sour, bitter, salty. Then you have the hypoglossal nerve. Taste information from the buds on your tongue is transmitted to your brain through the hypoglossal nerve in your tongue. So a lot of people have heard that there's different parts of the tongue to handle different types of flavors or different tastes. There's not really specific areas in the tongue that have specific tastes. All right, that brings us to the end.